Well, the divisional rounds of the NFL is set to begin on Saturday, and that's where 8 teams will fight to keep their playoff hopes alive in the road to Super Bowl 54 Miami. For more, I want to bring in NFL playoffs matchup this weekend. To talk more about it is John Breech, an NFL writer at CBS Sports. So I want to ask you about the San Francisco 49ers kicking off the divisional round on Saturday against the Minnesota Vikings, who notched a huge road win against the Saints. What do you think the Vikings need to do in order to keep their Super Bowl hopes alive?
Well, Rena, what they need to do is what they did last week when they upset the Saints back in the wild card round in New Orleans. That was a huge upset. The one thing they did was they attacked Drew Brees. The Vikings' biggest weakness on defense is in their secondary, so they couldn't let Brees go wild. So what they did is they had their defensive linemen just put pressure on him. They sacked him 3 times. They pressured him the entire game. He ended up throwing an interception. And when you look at the 49ers, they have a similar quarterback in the sense that Jimmy Garoppolo is not mobile. He is a statue back there. So once he starts dropping back to throw passes, you can sack him. You can force him to make mistakes. Garoppolo threw 13 interceptions this season, which was the 8th most in the NFL. So if you make him make mistakes, you might get a pick or 2 out of this. But that's going to be hard to do because the 49ers love to run the ball. So this is going to be a tough game for the Vikings to win.
So the Baltimore Ravens, they're hosting the Tennessee Titans on Saturday night at home. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson is actually the current front runner this year for the MVP. Do you expect his success to continue against the Titans?
I do, with a caveat here maybe. The last time we saw Lamar Jackson in the playoffs against the Los Angeles Chargers last season, the Chargers kind of threw a curveball at him defensively, and the Ravens didn't really know how to respond. The Chargers really shut down their defense, and Lamar Jackson really couldn't do anything. The Ravens ended up losing that game, and now we have the Titans, who have a defensive coach, and Mike Vrabel, who played for Bill Belichick for 8 seasons. So Bill Belichick is a mastermind. Vrabel learned under the best, and we might see him throw that type of curveball at Lamar Jackson in the Ravens. Now, that being said, the Ravens averaged 200 yards per game on the ground this season. I don't think you can really stop the Ravens offense. You can slow them down, but I think Lamar Jackson will have another big game.
So on Sunday, you've got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Houston Texans. Who do you think is going to advance here in this matchup? What's so fun about it is you've got these 2 up-and-coming quarterbacks to watch on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson actually were born 3 days apart, both under the age of 25. And this is something that fans are going to watch for years to come, Mahomes versus Watson. But for Sunday's game, for this playoff game, these 2 teams actually played back in week 6, with the Texans winning 31-24, which I think surprises a lot of people that game happened, because a lot of people think that the Chiefs are a much better team. But in that game, the Chiefs were beat up. They didn't have Chris Jones. That's the guy who led the team in sacks this year. They didn't have their starting left tackle, Eric Fisher. Their best receiver, Tyreek Hill, only played about half the game because he was coming back from injury. And Mahomes was dealing with an ankle injury for about 3 quarters. So they were really beat up. This time around, they're going to be fully healthy. The Texans don't have a great secondary. I'm looking for Patrick Mahomes to have a huge game, maybe 400 yards plus passing. And I think the Chiefs are going to roll in this one.
So the NFC's top seed, Green Bay Packers, face Seattle Seahawks to really close the divisional round. What do you expect the Packers can rally really from their first-year head coach against the Seahawks?
Yeah, you look at what Matt LaFleur's done this season. This has been nothing short of phenomenal. 13-3. You don't usually see that out of a first-year coach. And surprisingly, Matt LaFleur's an offensive coach. They have Aaron Rodgers. But those 2 aren't the reason why this team's been so good this season. The Packers have been riding their defense and Aaron Jones in the running game to all this success. And that's what I expect out of them on Sunday against the Seahawks. It is going to be about 20 degrees. No one likes to get hit in 20 degrees. No one likes to be outside in 20-degree weather. And so that's what they're going to be dealing with in Green Bay. The Packers have the perfect team to deal with that. If you are going to win in cold weather, you usually need to run the football, play defense. And if Aaron Rodgers just plays slightly above average football, I think the Packers roll to a win over the Seahawks.
You know, the season's still continuing, but most folks are in off-season. Practice has already begun in the NFL. You've got 4 coaches who will have a new home. Which of these coaches do you expect to have really the most success in their first year?
Yeah, I think out of the coaches that have been hired so far, the answer to that question is absolutely Mike McCarthy with the Dallas Cowboys. You look at the 3 jobs that have been filled besides that Cowboys job. The Giants went 4-12 last year. The Redskins went 3-13. The Panthers went 5-11. So the new coaches in those 3 teams, they have some rebuilding to do. But you look at Mike McCarthy, he's taking over a Cowboys team that went 8-8, probably would have gone 11-5 or 12-4 if they had better coaching. And Mike McCarthy, you look at his track record with Aaron Rodgers. He won a Super Bowl in Green Bay, and now you're giving him offensive weapons like Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, Cowboys fans have been waiting 20 years for that team to get back to a Super Bowl, and I think Mike McCarthy is the coach that could get them back there. And it wouldn't be surprising if it's next year or the next year or two.
John Breech, so grateful you could join us, John. Thank you.